Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission for tonight, Wednesday, May 20th, 2015. Would you please rise and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Zambrano, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Gregory?
Present.
Commissioner Reeder?
Here.
Vice Chair McMahon?
Here.
And Chair Engler is absent tonight.
Thank you. Item number 4 is a commendation for our outgoing Commissioner, Tom Gregory. And we have someone special here who's going to present it. And it's Council Member Claudia Bill de la Peña.
Good evening. I'm not quite sure which mic to use. I
They
think
both
this one
work.
will be better. They both work. Okay. Very good. Well, good evening, everybody. And I think that it is only fitting that I'm here tonight to present the commendation in honor of Tom's service, because Tom is my traffic commissioner, and until today, he has served in that capacity for many, many years. It says here in the commendation since 2007, but I think it was before that. I think you served on the Traffic Commission since about 2004, so I'm thinking 2003. So I think you've served for at least 12 years here as a Traffic Commissioner. And I thank you very much on behalf of the City of Thousand Oaks, the entire City Council, and also on behalf of my family for your dedicated service to our wonderful community. And this commendation in honor of Tom's service reads that Tom Gregory was appointed to the Traffic Commission and has volunteered countless hours of service to the City of Thousand Oaks and missed several ball games when Jason was still young. Jason is now out of college and is actually working. So that's how long ago you started. And that you have helped to decide issues, traffic issues that included traffic safety issues at schools, speed hump requests, traffic calming measures, speeding concerns, bicycle facilities master plan, sight distance restrictions, oversized vehicle parking ordinance, which sometimes still is an issue, truck routes, preferential parking permits, and so on, and crossing guard as well. And that is going to be also being discussed here this evening, I believe. And Tom, your contributions as a traffic commissioner of the city's Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission have proven to be an invaluable resource in the city's decision-making progress. And whereas Tom Gregory has provided exemplary service to our community while serving on the commission, and therefore this commendation signed by Al Adam, Mayor of the City of Thousand Oaks, on behalf of the entire council, commend Tom Gregory III for your dedication and many contributions over the last many years to the enhancement of our community. And again, thank you so much for your tireless service to our community. And thank you also to Debbie for putting up with that. And on a personal note, a very personal note, I also want to express my condolences to the recent loss of your mother-in-law. So thank you very much, Tom. Thank you to your family. And I know that you will find time to fill the time now available to you with other important things as well. So I'll present this to you on behalf of the Thousand Oaks City Council. Well, this is the first time, and there's always a first time for everything. Yes, and I also wanted to say before I leave, congratulations to the incoming traffic commissioner, Angie Simpson, as well as Drew Pletcher.
I'm not kidding about it being the first time to get flowers. But thank you. That was very nice. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say it's been a real honor, to serve the community. Our quality of life is important to all of us. We all enjoy living here. I think we're in probably one of the most perfect places on the planet to live. Obviously, we still have our share of bad drivers, though, so the Traffic Commission will always have something to do. But I want to thank everyone for this opportunity and you appointing me and giving me this chance to serve the community. It's kind of funny because at one time we filled up all these chairs in the commission and they culled that down. I guess it boiled down to everybody had to say something and the meetings ran on forever. But I did learn a couple things, and I wish the new commissioners the best. It takes a few years to get the experience. Ask a few questions, you'll get the answers. You'll go, oh, everybody asks that same question. Now I know, the way things work. It was kind of funny with the long list of things that Claudia brought up, but there's only one that really sticks out in my mind, and there was a motion before us to double the fine zones around schools, thinking that, oh boy, it'll be a great source of revenue and people will behave themselves even more. And this was something that went around in community after community. And I just got to thinking, this just makes no sense. So I asked our, at the time, traffic officer what he thought of it, and that if people actually behaved if you doubled the fines in certain areas. And he said, no, we found just the opposite to be true. And the lady that had brought this before us immediately stood up and said, never mind, I didn't know that, and sat back down, and that was it. But, it's little things like that that stick in your head because you never really know how things are going to turn out. You think some people want speed humps, but yet when the people actually show up, you find out that they must live on different streets because some of them swear there's never been a speeder down the road, and others think they're all driving 75 miles an hour. So all I can say is write their names down, take their notes, and somehow you'll have to try to ferret out who's actually giving you a straight scoop. But the people that do come up and volunteer their time help us immensely because we don't drive those streets all the time. So we get a sense of what it's like for them to live there because we're really here to, improve their quality of life. And it is important to them. And yes, sometimes we have to say no. There are warrants and there are reasons why we can put things in, and there are also reasons why we cannot. But more importantly is, we make the community a better place. And we can't make people better drivers, but we can do the best we can to protect everyone else. So I thank everyone for this opportunity, and I'll say to Sharon, because she'll be the only one with 2 years or more experience left, that you're going to have to rely on her. So we all relied on people when we first moved in here or became into this position, and she'll be a valuable asset to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Commissioner, did you want to say anything?
Tom, you've helped me so much in my first 2 years here. I must have been the biggest rookie in the whole world, but after tonight, I won't be the rookie anymore. So I want to thank you for taking me under your wing and showing me how things work and actually becoming my friend, too. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
I also want to thank you. Your perspective and your insight on the things that we discussed was invaluable, and I really appreciated all your input and all the things we talked about. You were great, and it's been a pleasure, and I really think that this commission's going to miss you a lot, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so
right.
now we have to move on.
Do I vacate?
They're nodding in the back.
There we go.
Okay. So now we will have the oath of office by the city clerks to our newly appointed traffic commissioners. So if you two will step to the podium. And
you can just stand in front of me right here, please. If you both will raise your right hand, and then I will give you the oath, and at the end you can both just say I do or I will. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the State of California and the United States, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you're about to enter?
I will.
Okay. So if I could have you sign your oath here. Oh, right here. You're not the same. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Let's give him a round of applause.
Welcome to both of you, and I'm going to ask you to take a new job right away. The button for the speaker's microphone is closer to you, so if you could turn it off and then turn it on when we do have a speaker at the podium, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, item number 6 is election of a new chair. Do we have any nominations? We don't have any nominations for the new chair.
Well, can we nominate ourselves?
Actually,
There's only...
I'm the vice chair right now.
Yes.
So I would like to nominate Sharon.
I'll second that.
Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you. That was awkward. So we have a nomination and a second. Can we do a hand vote?
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, and then I will nominate the election of the new vice chair. I will nominate our Commissioner Reeder for vice chair.
And I will second that nomination.
Okay, can we do a hand vote?
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 3-0.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this time we have public comments, and I need to read something to you. Any person who wishes to speak regarding an item on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction during the public comments portion of the agenda must file a purple public speaker card with the recording secretary before that portion of the agenda is called. Any person wishing to speak on a specific agenda item must file a public speaker card before the specific item is called. Persons addressing the Traffic Commission are requested to state their name and city of residence for the record. Under state law, issues presented or introduced under public comments can have no action and will be referred to the Traffic Engineering Division Manager for administrative action or to be scheduled on a subsequent agenda. It would be appreciated if you'd silence all cell phones during the meeting. Also, as TOTV can only record your comments while speaking into a microphone, there should not be any dialogue between the audience and the commissioners unless you are at the podium. If you are unable to come to the podium or should you need to step away from the podium while speaking, a wireless microphone is available for your convenience. Okay, so do we have... this is agenda item. It's not a public comment.
There is one public comment.
One public comment. This says 10A.
It's Tom Gregory.
Oh, I think, Tom, you spoke, right? Did you want to do public comments? Okay. Tom, come on up. Okay,
Well, thank you. This isn't a continuation. This is actually something I noticed, and I would like to, as a citizen, I'm Thomas Gregory, resident of Thousand Oaks. I've heard people here up here many times. A 20-year resident of Thousand Oaks. This is something that I know that the city has no jurisdiction over, but I know that they have a liaison with the Caltrans, and I'd like to ask if you would consider requesting that they do a collision study on the Northbound 23 at the Olsen exit, which is a very long exit. The only markings is a speed reduction to 25 miles an hour. What happens there is that it stacks up all the way up to the freeway sometime, or that people are used to everybody braking because it's a very steep exit, but they don't realize that people are stopping, and that there have been numerous rear-end collisions due to the fact that there is no notice that that does happen at times. And I think if they did do a study, they're going to find at least a dozen rear-end accidents that with some kind of warning possibly could be avoided. Now, obviously that's human behavior, but if it would improve things by them putting some additional signage that that might notify people that it does actually back up onto the freeway, I think we could probably cut that down. So that's all I am making a request for as a citizen, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 9, summary notes, February 18th. Are there any comments or questions on the notes? Okay. Then item 10, engineer reports, the annual school crossing guard program review. Mrs. Lowry?
Good evening, Chair McMahon and members of the Traffic and Transportation Commission. I'm Kathy Lowry, and I'm here to present to you the annual School Crossing Guard Program Review. The program started in 1977 and has varied from 37 locations to what we have now is 25. The program serves 15 elementary school and 4 middle schools. We currently have 29 crossing guards on staff and an annual budget of $170,000. The average cost per location is $7,000, and the guards provide safe crossing to 675 crossings annually. Of the 25 locations, as you see on the screen, that's what those yellow school signs are, 18 are directly adjacent to a school and 7 are down the street from a school. The purpose of the crossing guard is not to control traffic. It is to keep the children on the sidewalk until it's safe to cross the street. They lead the children across the roadway only when it's safe. They maintain discipline to the degree that the children are safe. They instruct children about crossing safe, and yes, sometimes they need to instruct the adults. And we also expect the crossing guards to be a positive role model. Each year, city staff conducts counts at existing crossing guard locations. We count just the students in grade K through 8, not the parents, the adults, or any toddlers. This is in order to determine if the number of students meets city standards. If not, then a traffic study is conducted. The traffic study involves counting vehicles. The city has adopted peak hour volumes for vehicle and pedestrian conflicts, which is more conservative than the state standards. On the chart, the state standards are in black and the city standards are in red. Both standards are based on different types of intersections. For example, if you look at the second line in the chart, for a two-way stop-controlled intersection, there needs to be a conflict between 300 vehicles and 20 pedestrians, both in the morning and the afternoon peak hours, in order to warrant a crossing guard. The majority of the intersections with a crossing guard are at an uncontrolled two-way stop intersection. The blue shows an uncontrolled two-way stop, and the red shows an uncontrolled two-way stop with in-pavement lights. The two of these together make up the majority of 59% of the crossing guard locations. Staff collected pedestrian vehicle data at the crosswalk locations this year, and 3 locations fell below city standards for both morning and afternoon pedestrian volumes. The 3 intersections are Jans and Marlow, Kimber and Baxter, and Lynn and Knollwood. And I'm going to go through each one individually. Jans and Marlow is located on Jans Road between Lynn Road and Moore Park Road. It provides crossing for students who attend both Aspen Elementary School and Redwood Middle School. In the fall of 2013, the city installed in-pavement lights and advance warning beacons at the intersection. In the AM and PM, volumes for vehicle conflicts exceed the 300 standard. The pedestrian counts are below the standard of 20, with 6 in the morning and 8 in the afternoon peak. And remember, this is a location that provides crossings for 2 schools. The next intersection is Lynn and Knollwood. Lynn and Knollwood is located in Newbury Park on Lynn Road between Reno Road and Wendy Drive. It provides crossings for students who attend Banyan Elementary School. Several years ago, due to low pedestrian counts, the crossing guard at Lynn and LaGrange, which is about a third of a mile to the east, was removed and students were directed to use this location where there was an existing crossing guard. Advance warning beacons were installed in the median and on the right side for westbound traffic, and the rectangular rapid flashing beacons were installed at Lynn and Knollwood. So this is looking towards Reno Road, and then this picture is a little closer at the intersection. The average number of students crossing in this location is 3 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, although the vehicle conflicts exceeds the 300 both in the morning and afternoon. The third location is Kimber at Baxter, which is located on Kimber Drive between Reno Road and Wendy Drive. It's right adjacent to Maple Elementary School. In-pavement lights and advance warning beacons were installed in the fall of 2013. At this location, we have 11 students crossing in the morning and 13 in the afternoon, which is below the 20, and the vehicle conflicts are above the 300 for both morning and afternoon. We looked at historical data, and what it came out is that since 2011, all 3 intersections have fallen below the city standard for pedestrian. Over the past 2 years, the installation of pedestrian warning systems were installed at all 3 intersections, and education programs provided at the 4 schools. Those are now complete. Based on the current historical data, in which all 3 locations were below the city standard, staff is recommending removing the crossing guard at the 3 locations. Staff contacted the school district, and the school district contacted each school, and 2 out of the 3 schools are in support of the staff's recommendation, with the exception of Banyan. Starting last Thursday, the crossing guards at the 3 locations handed out meeting notices to all the parents and students using the crosswalk, and there was barricades posted at all the crosswalks with notices of tonight's meeting. Okay, in addition to those 3 crosswalks just discussed, a 4th location was also analyzed. The county supervisor, Linda Park's office, contacted city staff and requested a crossing guard be installed at the intersection of Lesser Drive and Rudman. This intersection is located on Lesser Drive between Reno Road and Wendy Drive in the unincorporated area of the county. On March 23rd, 2015, the school safety team met at the intersection, which is next to the school, and observed pedestrian vehicle movements during the morning and afternoon. Attending the school safety meeting was the Walnut principal, representatives from the school district, Linda Park's office, the CHP, because that's who oversees county unincorporated area, the county public works staff, traffic commissioner, previous chair, Sue Engler, and city public works staff. The crosswalk markings at the intersection were installed by the county approximately 3 years ago to help direct students across Lesser Drive. Additionally, after the crosswalk was installed, a bus loading area was moved further west of the crosswalk to provide better sight distance for pedestrians at the crosswalk. The pedestrian vehicle counts were reviewed and discussed at the meeting. County staff informed the school safety team of the county's traffic calming program for the neighborhood that has recently been completed. The study recommendations include installation of speed humps, bulb outs, and additional signage. Because the intersection did not meet the city standards for a crossing guard, and the county has a traffic calming program that they're working on implementing, the school safety team collectively did not support the installation of a crossing guard at this time. So staff's recommendation is discontinue crossing guard at 3 of the locations and do not add a new guard at the intersection of Lesser and Redmond. The commission's recommendation tonight will be forwarded to City Council at their June meeting. And thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff?
I have a couple.
Okay, no.
Oh, this one. Got it. First, I wanted to clarify, are students counted in the survey if they are chaperoned by a parent or only if they're unchaperoned?
No, any student K through 8 is counted.
Okay. That's another good question. So it's a preschooler going across the street at Lynn by Banyan with parents isn't counted in the study because they're underage?
Right. And,
okay.
And hopefully to be with their parent, too.
Right. Okay. That was what I wanted to clarify. The other thing I just wanted to know was how many days did you conduct the survey? How many mornings and afternoons was someone out watching those intersections from the city?
Yes, we have our lead crossing guard does the counts because the crossing guard is working. So we pick an average day, which is usually Wednesday or Thursday, because Tuesday most of the schools have early dismissal, and Mondays and Fridays are not really average. And we pick one day, and if the crossing guard provides anecdotal data, which says, "Oh, this was not a good day because something was happening at the school," then we'll come back in another time. We also do it only in good weather, which is almost all the time. But yeah, it's an average, and that's why if none of these intersections were really right on the border, we felt it was they were so far below.
Can you also tell us the average speeds on Lynn Road right by Banyan?
Jim Mishiko probably can.
Okay.
Okay, yes. We do have what we call radar surveys, where we use these radar surveys. We go out with a radar device, measure the speeds of the vehicles, and then based on what we call the 85th percentile traffic, or 85% of the vehicles on the road, we set the speed limit. And in this case, along Lynn Road between Wendy and Reno, the 85th percentile speed is approximately 50 miles an hour, which explains the current posted speed limit of 50 miles an hour at that location.
Are there any other questions of staff?
Regarding the Lesser and Redmond location where we were considering the crossing guard, I'm just curious, what is the timeline on the? You said the county's the county recently completed a traffic calming study, and what was the timeline on implementing the recommendations of the county?
Interesting. We talked to the staff member at the county, and he, again, anecdotally, it seemed like it's on the books as something they'll be moving forward. And during the Ride of Silence, which just started before the meeting, I met not officially with Supervisor Parks, and we were talking about the recommendation and she said, "Oh yes, because we'll be moving forward with our traffic calming project." So there's no set date, but it seems it's sooner than later.
Okay, and I just had one more, if that's so. And then regarding the 3 locations that we're considering taking away the crossing guard, will there be any, I guess, additional education programs or any effort to go to these schools to inform parents or the children of safety measures that they can use to implement just to make sure that if a crossing guard isn't there, here's the proper way to cross the street, for instance, look both ways?
That's a very good idea. We hadn't planned it, but we do have a school safety, Safe Routes to School education program that they've been to all the schools, but that doesn't mean that there can't be more follow-up now that there's going to be a change at the school, if recommended.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of staff? Okay. Let's see. This is 10A, so we do have some public speaker comments. Let me find my... Okay. We have some speakers, and they are allotted 5 minutes each. I will call your name, and you'll state your name and city of residence into the microphone. And the first speaker is Richard Williams. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Richard Williams. I live in Newbury Park. In fact, I live on Longford Avenue, just north of Lynn Road. And I've been concerned about the speed on Lynn Road for some time now, and it has, the data says 80th percentile is 50 miles an hour. So people are driving actually faster than 50 miles an hour. So it becomes, in one way, a freeway. And there's nothing to stop you between Reno and Lynn. And there are 8 streets that intersect Lynn Road between Reno and Wendy. I think I said between Reno and Wendy, there are 8 intersecting roads for people driving in and out. There are 2 places to cross, one at LaGrange and one at Knollwood. The one at LaGrange is not attended. It was in the past, and it is not now. And very few people actually cross that because they go to the one where there is an attendant. The speeds there make it dangerous at any time. It makes it dangerous on the weekends. And the only reason I know that is I started walking about a year and a half ago. Last year I put 1,200 miles, most of it walking just in that neighborhood. And so I know that area very well. And I've been nearly hit at least 2 or 3 times in those intersections. And there are major accidents that occur at the corner of Reno and Lynn Road. And there are major accidents that occur at Wendy and Lynn. And if people are in those areas, they can be involved in those very serious accidents because people are going too fast. I had an occasion to ask Sue Engler, who I know from the Rotary Club, to come out and see the street, and she did. And then she came again with Jim Machiko, and we talked about the issues with the crossings of that street there, and especially for the children in the morning. It concerns me that at the speeds that people go on that road in the evening and in the morning, that if you make the light at Lynn Road, you're going 50 miles an hour. I mean, at Reno, you're going 50 miles or more by the time you get to the intersection. You're not going to be able to stop in time. And there are times of the year in the evening where you're driving into the sun and you can't see clearly, and times in the morning when you're driving into the morning sun that hits you right in the eyes and you can't see clearly then as well. I urge you strongly not to do away with that crossing guard. The metrics are one thing, children's lives are another. And I don't think we should trade children's lives for $6,000.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Next we have Marshall Deniger. Please state your name and city of residence.
Good evening. Marshall Denninger. I'm a resident of Newbury Park. I'm here tonight to talk about the school crossing guard program, a report that's on the agenda. I'm here to also request that the committee not recommend to the City Council to remove the crossing guard at Lynn and Knollwood, which is the crosswalk that the students at Banyan Elementary use. The report identified 1,493 vehicles in the AM peak hours. That's 5 times more than the city standards, and 949 in the PM, which is 3 times more than the city standards. We have seen that the pedestrians are well below the 20 in those peak hours, but I would echo what this gentleman just said about the data and the quality of life as far as that goes. A large percentage of the vehicles that travel through the crosswalk typically do at a high rate of speed. I'm sure you're all very aware of the fact that Lynn Road has become Conejo Valley's Autobahn. You only have to look at the walls that back up to Lynn to see how dangerous it's become. The evidence is up and down the streets of cars plowing into and actually through the walls. My wife, I'm a father of 4, stopped walking along Lynn Road on the sidewalk because of all of the accidents that had happened, so she kept to our little inner circle there. On page 3 of the report, it says that all of the intersections that or the crosswalks we're talking about have advanced warning lights and in-pavement lighted crosswalks. The in-pavement lighted crosswalks were removed at Lynn and Knollwood about a year ago, leaving only the advanced warning lights and the crossing guard. It also, on page 3, I noticed that the pedestrian data from spring of 2004 was not included, so it made it a little difficult for me to follow the pattern and to wrap my head around how that was working out. So, I understand that and respect the need to continually evaluate and evaluate the need for certain services, and appreciate the fact that decisions are based on data, specs, and standards. So based on the city's current standards and data reported, I understand, based on the data, why the recommendation is put forth. But I would ask the commission if there is an opportunity here to make an exception for this intersection, based on the fact that we did lose an early lighting system, and the vehicles are typically just speeding way too fast down Lynn Road. If an exception is not an option, a group of parents are wondering if there's a way that salary can be supplemented by parents or nonprofit groups of the like. The report states that historical data indicates that the use of these crosswalks is decreasing. Many factors may contribute to this, including declining enrollments and the opportunity for students to participate in school choice. In fact, Banyan Elementary's enrollment is going up and is one of the schools that's being choiced too. I would suggest the reason that there's a decline of the pedestrians is because of how dangerous the intersection is. And the removal of another warning system would put those who still must cross that crosswalk at a higher risk of being involved in an accident. Thanks.
Excuse me, I have a quick question for you. Do your children cross at that
No,
crosswalk?
they don't.
Do you have friends whose children cross at that crosswalk?
Yes, I do.
Okay. 4 kids. 4 kids cross? 2 households. Okay. I'm sorry. You're not. I'm sorry. We can't have a discussion because there's no microphone and you can't be recorded. That's why I need to speak to this gentleman up here. So you know of 4 children who use the crosswalk.
Actually, I'm the executive vice president of the PTA at Banyan. I've been involved with the executive board there for 6 years, so I know most all of the parents at that school and many of them that actually have to use that crosswalk.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions of this? Okay, thank you very much.
I have one question for you, Mr. Denninger, just really quickly. Is your school currently instituting any healthy walk-to-school programs, like Westlake Elementary has a walk-to-school Wednesday? Is there anything like that in place currently? Well, it's funny that you bring it up because we've talked about that on the executive board, but we often shy away from it because there's no real it's a dangerous place to walk for the kids to come across Lynn Road, and we plan on doing that, but our plan was to actually try to go the back way. But if you go the back way up Open Trail, there actually is no sidewalks for the kids to walk on, so now they're on the dirt. What we have done is because we recognize the fact that our traffic has increased immensely in our own parking lot, and it gets really congested and bottlenecked, it is becoming extremely dangerous in our own parking lot. And so we've actually created a safety parking lot video that we're going to be publishing and pushing out to the parents at the beginning of the next school year. So, one more question for you. If the commission did vote for maintaining the crossing guard services and that was pushed through up to the city council and they voted the same, would your school consider, based on the guard situation the way it is now, implementing some sort of Walk to School Wednesday and making better use of those services?
I'd chair the program for the PTA myself.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. Next, we have Scott Bailey. Please state your name and city of residence in the microphone.
Good evening, Commission. Scott Bailey, Newbury Park, California. I was very concerned when I was made aware of this conflict that we would even consider putting lives behind money and statute. 2 of those 4 kids that walk there every day are mine, but they're not the only ones. There's on a given day, close to 8 to 10 that will occasionally take that route. But you're only considering Canal Valley Unified School District. There are preschool kids that walk the other way to Monte Vista Presbyterian Church and Newbury Park First Christian Church and their parents. as well as occasional joggers and walkers. This is one of the most dangerous thoroughfares in the city of Newbury Park. I will confess, I drive 60 miles an hour on that street, and I'm just keeping up with traffic. We have a blind corner there coming westbound. It is unimaginably dangerous, and to consider dropping this cross guard from the city's services is unimaginable to me. And I just really want you to really think hard about this decision, because we're talking about the most vulnerable of the human lives, the youngest citizens in the city of Thousand Oaks. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Thank you. Next, we have Carrie Weber. Please state your name and city of residence.
My name is Carrie Weber, and I live in Newbury Park, and I've lived there for 35 years. Newbury Park's always been a really safe town, and that is why I've decided to raise my family there. I appreciate being given this opportunity to voice my concerns. A couple years ago, I was on my way to work, and I actually witnessed an accident happen at the crosswalk at Maple School Elementary at Kimber and Baxter. A young boy was hit by a car that did not see him in the crosswalk. He had to be hospitalized. This is why I'm here. I know that these crosswalks have people that barrel through them at 45 miles an hour plus, even when the pedestrian lights are on. And I also know this to be true at the crosswalk near Banyan at Lynn and Knollwood as well. It is a blind corner. And because it was admitted here that the speeds were 50 miles an hour plus, and even in the picture here, you can see that there's that corner there. And if you're going, say you're going at 50 miles an hour, you're not going to be able to stop in time to, even when you do see those lights. So it's a really safe and unsafe intersection. So I feel as if we all need protection possible at the most protection possible at these locations for our children. It's just not worth the tragedy. And as a mom, I will be sending my children to these schools. Therefore, I'm against cutting any funding that makes these crosswalks less safe for our kids. Thanks.
Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. Next, we have Steve Field. Please state your name and city of residence.
Yes, my name is Stephen Field. I've lived in Newbury Park now for 30-something years. I've been near that intersection for 17 years. And I have the unfortunate view now of up Knollwood. My house sits up where my deck, where I sit out in the evenings, looks right on the intersection. My neighbor, who's in where Scott used to live, was hit there last year while avoiding a child. The car veered off, pushed him all the way through that into the church. The crossing guard cannot go away. It's just, it's not doable. But the true solution to this is dropping the speed limit back down. The time frame from dropping from 50 to 35 to slow down the people from Dos Vientos coming down our street, it's 2.5 miles. I just came from Dos Vientos baseball. All my friends are up there, and they truly said they don't care. Once they've dropped their kids off, they're on their cell phones and they're heading to work. And they were all sitting there truly saying they're going to come to the next meeting. The speed needs to be dropped on that street. The crossing guard needs to remain. It's just, we're going to lose a child there. And then what does somebody say? It's just another statistic? It can't be done. And I've taken my speed gun down there several times. As you know, I voiced myself quite loudly at that intersection. And there's been many people that come by you with their cell phone in their hand, and they drop it so you don't see them, and they're doing it. And I have a speed gun. I've hit them at well over 70 miles an hour while our children are walking across the intersection. So if the speed limit was 35, they might be doing 40. That's still 30 miles an hour less than what it should be. So how much are we inconveniencing by dropping the speed limit 15 miles an hour? We're going to slow them down to get to their house a minute and a half. Fairly cheap. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay. At this moment, we're done with our public speaking. Mr. Mashiko or Mrs. Lowry, did you want to respond to some of those comments?
Well, I think the school district put a speaker card in.
Oh, I was told that they were there for questions if we had them.
I think he changed his mind and would like to speak. Is that okay?
We'd love to have you speak. Yes. This is David Fateh.
Good evening. My name is David Fateh. I'm representing the Conejo Valley Unified School District here tonight. On behalf of the school district, first of all, I would like to thank the City of Thousand Oaks and the Commission for the great program they're providing, making it much safer for our students to walk to and from the school every day. In regards to the staff's determination, the school district is in support of the staff's determination for elimination of the crossing guards at Jansen, Marlowe, and Baxter and Kimber. However, there's a concern from the school at Banyan, specifically from the principal, and I'd like to share with you the email that she sent this afternoon. I read the email, quote, I spoke with Mrs. Levine, our crossing guard. She said that we have about 5 kids from Banyan that cross Lynn. She also said that several middle school and high school students cross as well. She mentioned that many parents cross with their little ones to go to the preschool too. I am very concerned about this crossing area. The cars fly up and down Lynn. I feel that this is an accident waiting to happen. I am even concerned about the safety of the crossing guard on that street. We have flashing lights, but honestly, it is my observation that no one pays attention to them. I would like to petition for a stoplight on the corner of Lynn and Knollwood. Lynn curves and there are blind spots on the street. This is a serious situation that needs attention from the city. Even cars crossing, making a left turn from Knollwood onto Lynn are at risk. It is a dangerous situation. Could you please pass this information on to the city? Principal Lori Davis. I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions?
I just was curious what, beyond the numbers here, what the city told you that they got resolved. What is there any additional basis from your opinion of what you feel made up your support for the city? Just, I guess what I'm trying to say, is there any other considerations that the school district took into account when saying that, yes, we'd like to support the removal of the crossing guards?
Well, the information was shared with the individual principals, and they had the opportunity to share the information with the parent community, I believe. And to their knowledge, it made sense to go with the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to follow up with that, kind of the communication to the parents. And I don't know if you're able to answer this question, but what would that entail? Would that entail a email, a posting in a newsletter? I'm feeling like there's some disconnect sometimes from administration to reaching parents. Parents are very active with social media now. We all rely upon it. I just wondered what measures and efforts were made to really communicate in a way that people would know that this was up for consideration, so that there could have been more participants.
To be honest with you, I don't have that answer for you. I work for the Planning and Facilities Department. I know that they have email or backpack notes that students take home, but I can't speak accurately tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Okay, at this time, does staff want to address any of the comments that were made?
Yes. Before I do that, there might have been 3 emails that you received that you wanted to make note of.
Okay, there were 3 emails. All of them were in favor of keeping the crosswalks. So we'll put that into the record.
At which location?
Okay, this one, let's see, Marlowe, Aspen, another one from Aspen, I think this one is just a general one, I believe. And That's it. So
Okay.
those are in the record now.
So I took some notes, and I wanted to clarify and also apologize that there was an error in the staff report that they did not all three have lighted crosswalks. Lynn and Knollwood had in-pavement lights, but when the rectangular rapid flashing beacons and advanced warning beacons were installed, the in-pavement lights were removed. And I want to use the word industry standards, is that there's been a lot of studies on what is one better than the other, or do you get more warning, and there's no statistical data that we're able to, and this is lots of cities that install these, that by removing the in-pavement lights, it created any more harm to the crossing. So we felt it was sufficient to change it out, and they also break a lot. So, it's kind of one of these things that it's very hard for a crossing guard if they're pushing it and they don't know if they're working. So by removing the in-pavement lights and upgrading all the rapid flashing, that's why, and again, my apologies for the error in the staff report. The question about we're missing some data from last year. After the all the intersections were improved, we chose to hold off on collecting data for a year because the data would not really be statistically significant because there was education going on in the schools and the crosswalks were being upgraded. So if we had data, it wouldn't be possibly statistically significant because of the education program, which went on in the fall and the spring. So that's why the 2014 data was not included. The question came up about possibly the school providing funding for the crossing guard. I guess at this point we're just looking at the standards. None of this has anything to do with funding, whether the city has the funding or not. It's just looking at the standards and what the community's interested in having their crossing guard. The concern about dropping the speed limit, we're kind of tied to state standards. We have to post the speed limit at 85th percentile unless there's special situations, and in this case it's posted per state law, so unfortunately we can't drop it. The question about installing a traffic signal, I checked with Mr. Mashiko. There hasn't been a request to do a signal warrant. That doesn't mean we can't do one now, and that would take some time to look to see if a signal is warranted there, and that's based on the warrant the longer somebody has to wait at an intersection before they can turn out based on the speeds and volumes at an intersection, it's usually over an 8-hour period. But it also looks at sight distance and curves in the road, and so we can go ahead and move forward on doing a signal warrant which is outside this idea of the crossing guard too. But I think that's it. Do you have anything else to add?
Just a few more comments on expanding on the issue of a signal warrant analysis. What's involved there is we basically take a look at the highest 8-hour volume periods at the intersection, and generally we're looking at least 500 vehicles per hour, and the way that's split up is at least 300 of that volume should be on the main street, and then 200 of that should be coming from the minor street, which in this case would be Knollwood Drive. So but just by visual inspection, it probably would be difficult to see that there's, during 8 hours, that there's 200 vehicles coming per hour off Knollwood Drive. But that's, we could still take measurements of that, and we would generally do that during the school year. Just some other items I wanted to point out: the daily traffic volume at each of these three crossing locations. Along Lynn Road, the daily traffic volume is about 11,000 vehicles per day. The Jans Road at Marlow intersection, Jans Road carries about 12,000 vehicles per day. And then Kimber Drive at Baxter, the volume there is the lightest. Kimber carries about 7,000 vehicles per day. Also want to expand on the speaker who went first, Mr. Williams. I did meet with him out at the intersection of Knollwood at Lynn last week, and I did mention to him there are some things that we can do at that intersection. We can upgrade the signage that's there. Some of the warning signs, they did appear to be faded, so we can upgrade those to the higher visibility lime green or fluorescent colored sign to draw more attention to the crosswalk. One of the advanced warning beacons in the westbound direction appear to be blocked by some tree branches, so we can get that all trimmed up. There's additional pavement markings we can put into the ground to create better awareness that there's a crosswalk there, and also create a stopping point in advance of the crosswalk. So those are some things that we're going to immediately look into, get it implemented before next school year. Also at that location, when Ms. Lowry talked about the in-pavement lights that were removed, we did change those to the rectangular rapid flashing beacon design, which is elevated above ground. Through the years, we did have complaints at that location that the in-pavement lights were difficult to see, especially as over time when vehicles drove over them, they sort of got depressed into the pavement. So we went with this elevated design, and it has a real rapid flashing pulse of light, so that when you're driving, it's really going to catch your attention. So just by studies, it shows that this design is just as effective as the in-ground pavement. So I mean, we're constantly looking to upgrade that location, and that's one of the things that we did here in this case. The other thing was, I believe, collisions there. We did take a look at collisions at that Lynn at Knollwood intersection, and basically from 2012 to 2014 calendar years, there was one collision that occurred there involving during the school period, and a car had stopped and was rear-ended. So the lead car stopped for a pedestrian crossing in the crosswalk, and the car that came up from behind rear-ended the vehicle that was stopped. But that occurred back in October of 2012. So that was before we put in this rectangular rapid flashing beacon design. So since the changes occurred about a year ago, we haven't had any in terms of collisions at that location. Or collisions that were linked to pedestrians at that location.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Commissioner?
Yes, when I look at the statistics, it seems quite obvious that crossing guards aren't needed. However, in listening to the public and understanding the speed limits involved, I question the validity of looking just at statistics, of course. What is staff's opinion on traffic speeds in relation to having a crossing guard or not? In other words, a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, I would be very, very careful crossing that, making sure the traffic is stopped completely before I put foot onto the ground. How does staff integrate how fast a vehicle is going in the vicinity of a crosswalk or a crossing guard, as opposed to just how many people are using it? In other words, I wouldn't feel comfortable even if two people were wanting to cross that and traffic was coming down at 50 miles an hour that may or may not stop.
Okay, I could just talk to basically the philosophy that we take a look at when we install. This is what we call an uncontrolled intersection. We have a standard for this particular one is a school crosswalk, but if it's a non-school location, we have established certain standards, amount of volume of traffic that flows through there, the pedestrian volume count, sight distance, things like that. So if that was applied to the intersection of Knollwood and Banyan, if this location was uncontrolled and unmarked in any way, it would probably be difficult for us to make a recommendation to add new markings at that location. Part of it has to do with the speed. Generally, uncontrolled locations like this, if the speed is above 40 miles an hour, we sort of discourage the installation of mark or crosswalk markings.
Is there a way to have the crossing guards address the commission as to how they feel the safety of the children will be affected by not having them there as opposed to having them escort the students across the intersection?
Yeah. Say, of course, we have a crossing guard here tonight that works at Lynn and Knollwood, and she's been there for several years at that location. But that being said, yeah, and of course she's welcome to fill out a speaker card and talk. I wanted to follow up that as what Jim was saying about where we wouldn't install crosswalks on intersections that don't have signals right now. That's kind of where the city goes. If anyone comes in and wants a crosswalk, because they're in front of a park. We don't look at doing that because crosswalks don't protect anyone. But all these locations historically have been there, since the program started in '77, and speeds and volumes have increased over the years, particularly in Newbury Park more than anywhere else. And the crosswalks have remained. So, all three crosswalks, that's why they were targeted, as well as some other in the city, to beef up, to put the lights in, to put the flashing beacons, trying to get the public to slow down and notice that there's a crosswalk there. So, yes, the crosswalks have been there before our time, but we're just trying to make them safer by putting the enhanced lights on them.
Well, I guess the question is, how effective are they? Staff is recommending removing the crossing guards, so they must be very effective.
I can tell you one of the purposes of getting the Safe Routes to School grants and installing the in-pavement lights was to increase use in the crosswalks. And that's why we had the education program at the school to educate the parents it's really based on health issues too, the whole idea of childhood obesity, that walking to school is a healthy thing to do. And it's somewhat discouraging that we didn't see any increase in any of these crosswalks with not just the education program, but the in-pavement lights.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, so we have great statistics on the volume of cars, the number of kids, the speeds, but the one thing that I would like for you to illuminate for us is the distance that any one child would have to cross alone, cross cars that everybody has admitted are going between 55 and 65 miles an hour. How far do they have to get on their own across that intersection at Lynn and Knollwood?
I think, can you just tell us the width of Lynn Road
I would say
at that
it's probably
point?
100 feet. That would be a city standard for a road of that side, and that's, it's a 4-lane road with a median.
Okay. We do have another speaker card, and it is the crossing guard. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Jackie Reliance, please come to the podium, state your name and city of residence, and can you push the button?
Jackie Levine. I live in Camarillo. And first of all, when you mentioned about the accidents, I don't know why it was just one. We've had several there since the period that you mentioned. There were several. We've had them. We just a month and a half ago had a man riding his bike get hit right on kitty corner from where I stand. He was coming down the hill. One of our moms made a left turn right into him. We had another crash where several cars, and one car got pushed way up on the church's lawn. And people were injured. So there were accidents that were not in that report. The speed on that street is, it's really dangerous. There are times when they come down from Lynn, from Dos Vientos, and they come racing down there. And it's like we're invisible, like they don't even see us at times. Now, where the blinking light is, the sun is behind it, and a lot of times in spring and summer, they maybe can't see it. I give them an excuse on that. But they'll come racing down, they're drinking their coffee, they're talking on the phone, and it is a hard street to maintain control on. Finally got it where they know to slow down, but if they're not careful, or if they think they can get away with it, they're going to go right through. And several times I've watched adults say to me, well, I don't need you to cross me. And I say, okay. They get out in the middle of the street, and there are cars going in front of them, behind them, and they're stuck. And it just scares me to think that a little one would be coming across and get stuck like that. I go out and I get them out of there position. But what would happen if a little one is stuck in the middle there? And I do have a fourth grade boy who he won't cross on his own. It's just too scary for him. And also about the blind corner, that is bad. But the attitude of some of the drivers, that's what's difficult to deal with. The kids are really great. They listen. Everything is good in that respect. But it is a dangerous corner, dangerous place for a little one to cross on their own. And they've got 4 lanes that they'd have to cross. And it's just a lot for a little one.
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
First one, do you yourself feel safe when you're crossing?
There are times, I had an incident last year where I was almost hit 3 times in one day.
Oh, jeez.
2 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and I walked away from the one in the afternoon. I had to cross someone else. And I walked out of the street, kind of with my throat. I was so upset, and it was very difficult to, had to take a breath to take the next kid out. I didn't want to walk into the street. But that was quite a day.
My other question is, do you know the kids you cross kind of sort of well and their parents?
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't there, if the city assigned you to another crosswalk and there was no crossing guard there, would their parents drive them or would they be walking on their own? And I know you can't answer for their parents, but what would you think?
I drive.
Forced into our cars.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I just had just one. Just really a quick statement. Thank you for taking the time to do that and helping our children with that. Just as someone I've actually been hit by a car before crossing a crosswalk, so I can understand your fear. But I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I think we all thank you very much. Now is the time for some council discussion, one at a time. Who wants to be first? Commissioner Reeder?
I'm leaning towards keeping the crossing guards and watching for the next year what the utilization factor is, and if it continues to decrease, reconsider.
Commissioner?
I am leaning towards maintaining the traffic services as they are and finding new and innovative ways to partner with the school district and these individual locations to embrace more of a culture of wellness and a walk to school Wednesday. We already have the commitment from the PTSA vice president to partner with us at Banyan. I think that would be the best thing for the overall health and wellness and making Thousand Oaks the strong city that it needs to be.
Did you have something to add?
Other than I'm also leaning towards keeping the crossing guards as it is. Lynn and Knollwood especially. The letter from the principal of Banyan, as well as just knowing what Lynn is and the speed of those cars and what happens what could happen if we remove these crossing guards. I would just hate to imagine that.
Okay. So I have a little bit to say. I left me for last. First of all, I live in the Banyan district. My kids went to Banyan. They were walked across Lynn to the First Christian daycare, preschool there. I jog there regularly. I ride my bike there regularly. I walk there regularly. I know that neighborhood. I know the school. I know that crosswalk. I know how bad it is. I was just couple weeks ago, I was at the bicycle advisory meeting, and there was a cyclist there who was hit right in that area. It's dangerous when you're driving. The curve of the road, the speed of the cars, the angle of the sun, you can't see what's ahead of you. I get it. I totally get it. It's dangerous. And yet there are 3, 4, 5, 6 kids who are crossing there. And the crossing guard herself is not feeling safe there. Why are we encouraging people to cross there? It's crazy. I feel like, in my mind, no one should cross there. And I do it myself. I do it when I'm jogging. It's like on my regular route. But I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands. And at least I've got tennies and I'm going to run. If the cars don't stop or whatever, I'm going to run. But why are we encouraging kids to cross there? It's not good. Why are we directing them to go to this wide street where the cars are going really fast, the sun's in the people's eyes? It's, in my mind, that's what makes it dangerous. Not having the crossing guard there is almost, in my mind, more dangerous. And if the kids are going to be driven to school and not try to walk on their own, then maybe it's more safe. That's okay. And then, so that's the real controversial one. The other two, I feel, if the PTSA and the principals feel that the crossing guards aren't warranted, then I say we go with the people who know. Of course, that kind of contradicts with the principal of Banyan, but I just really worry about anybody crossing, including you, the crossing guard. It just seems like it's too dangerous. So that's all. I guess that's all I can say. I don't know if I'm outvoted or I think perhaps if we're done with the discussion, and I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say, but when we do make a motion, let's do each of those 3 schools individually. How's that sound? Okay, Commissioner Ryder?
Did you want me to make a motion? Or
if you have discussion, we can discuss. If you have a motion, we can have a motion.
Well, you bring up a very good point, and perhaps there is a reason to consider each one on its own merit rather than my initial feeling that we should keep them all. So I agree with your statement. Thank you very much.
Commissioner?
My concern is just the community awareness regarding the crossing services has really not been publicized. We don't really know exactly what went home, if anything went home with the actual students, to allow the parents to have a voice in this matter. So that's one big concern I have about breaking it down individually and not looking at this as a whole package. So that's where I stand.
Any other discussion?
I certainly do like your idea of breaking down each one individually. I feel each one has its own unique circumstances, has its own unique concerns, and has the numbers to back up the statistics and what the study showed and what the schools are recommending. So I certainly do support that idea of doing individually.
Okay. Would you care to make a motion on any of those schools?
Well, I guess we start at the beginning. A motion on location number 1, the Jans and Marlow, serving the Aspen Elementary and Redwood Middle School.
And what is your motion?
Oh, sorry. That we vote to keep the crossing guards as is with that particular location and possibly assess at a later date. Just that we keep the crossing guards at that location.
Okay. Mrs. Sobrano, would you like to call the roll?
When you're called, please say yes or no. Commissioner Pletcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Reeder?
Yes.
Chair McMahon?
No.
Motion carries 3-1.
Okay, I can see where this is going. All right, so do we have another motion or any more discussion? Commissioner Reeder?
I would like to make a motion to keep the crossing guard at Lynn and Knollwood.
Would you like to call the vote?
Commissioner Pletcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Reeder?
Yes.
And Chair McMahon?
No.
Motion carries 3-1.
Okay. Do we have another motion?
I'd like to make a motion to maintain traffic guard services at Maple Elementary at Kimber and Baxter Road.
Can you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Pletcher?
No.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Reeder?
No.
Chair McMahon?
No.
Motion fails 3-1.
Thank you, everybody. So these are just recommendations to the City Council. Is that correct?
I believe we need a motion in favor of the recommendation or not for that last crosswalk.
Okay.
The motion was to keep. The recommendation is we need an affirmative for removal.
Okay. Do we have a motion to remove the crossing guard at Baxter and Kimber?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to remove the crossing guard at Baxter and Kimber serving the Maple Elementary.
When your name is called, say yes or no. Commissioner Pletcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
No.
Vice Chair Reeder?
Yes.
Chair McMahon?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-1.
Okay, thank you. And then if you wish to appeal, if you wish to appeal, you can basically you go to the City Council when they're going to address it. They take our recommendations, but they make their own decisions. So I think the Traffic Engineering Department will let you know when it will be at the City Council meeting. And I guess that's it. Thank you all for coming. And I am not unsympathetic. I know that area really well, and I understand. And I appreciate everybody coming. Okay, so we will move on.
Don't we have to vote on the Walnut Elementary?
Do we need to vote on the Walnut Elementary one, or is that just a...
I would say you should.
Okay. In that case, would you like to make a motion?
Like to make a motion to, I just want to make sure I got the framing of the question right, to not add a new crossing guard at Lesser and Rudman per city staff recommendation.
I'd like to just comment on that as to why my position would be to support Commissioner Pletcher's position, and based on the fact the county has intervened here and it seems like there's a great plan in place, I would be comfortable in seconding that motion.
Okay. Would you
Commissioner Pletcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Reeder?
Yes.
Chair McMahon?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. See, you're going to keep me on task. All right. So now we have the Calle Olivo status report. That's an information item. Are you going to report on it?
Just real briefly, just want to make mention that, yes, it is an information item to follow up the installation of speed cushions on Calle Olivo, which is our first use of the speed cushion design, which is the open slotted I guess, alternate design of a speed hump, which is user-friendly for the fire trucks. And basically that they have been successfully reducing the speed along Calle Olivo. The before and after data is presented in the staff report. The vehicle speeds are down from as high as 36 miles an hour down to about 31 miles an hour with these speed cushions. Typically with the speed hump design, we probably would have had a lower speed rather than what we had here because of as cars drive over the open slots, they're able to maintain a little bit higher speeds. But it seems like they're effective, and we're going to continue monitoring this location, and we're going to redo our speed count and volume count next fall when school resumes.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Commissioner Reeder?
Just one comment. I was over there today looking at the final result. It's great. It is just beautiful. I originally voted against doing this, but after seeing the results and the aesthetic value that wasn't lost on that street, I wish I could vote yes on it now. I made a mistake, so nice job.
We all learn every meeting. We all learn. Commissioner Pletcher, did you have something?
I don't know if this was just a quick comment or question. Looking at the numbers between 2013 and then the March 2015, I mean, any idea in staff's mind why, for instance, the West Calle Olivo versus 2639, which saw really not too much of a decrease, versus the West Calle, which saw 71% decrease over 25 miles an hour? I mean, just any idea of kind of the results of that? Or I just was really just trying to understand the report a little bit better.
Yeah, typically that's sort of an unusual pattern that developed over there on that. The increase that took place in volume-wise on I believe that was the east Calle Olivo, the west and the midpoint of Calle Olivo. Those all dropped in terms of speed and volume, but there was an increase in volume over on the east end. So, not really sure how to explain that. But that's why we're going to do our follow-ups next fall.
Thank you. One more, sure.
Real brief. When I was over there today, I drove the west and the east side. I think the difference in traffic are those little drainage areas. I mean, those really jar the car. So if I had a choice, I would always use the east myself.
I had thought that they had the break in the middle, and I drove it also, and I was surprised to see that there's actually 2 brakes. So you can really maneuver your car through them. I thought it was only enough for the axle of the fire engine, but it's actually you can get one tire in them, and yet it's great because it's done its job. So that's really nice. Yeah, just one comment on that design. It's I believe there's 4 segments or 4 pieces on on Calle Olivo, and that design is dictated by how wide that road is. So if it was a skinnier road, instead of having like the 4-piece design, you'd probably have a 3-piece design with varying. Okay, so that's the difference in what I thought I was going to see, yes, and what I had seen. Okay, terrific. Thank you. Commissioner Reeder?
I'm sorry. Is there a way that we could make a recommendation to City Council that in the future when individuals come requesting speed humps, we say, well, in the city we don't do speed humps anymore, we do speed cushions?
Well, they would come to us and we would say that.
Well, but I was thinking if we could get something as a guideline where speed humps are no longer installed.
Well, yeah, there's when the neighborhood meeting is held here at Traffic Commission, that's a time and point at which a recommendation is made whether to go with the speed hump design or speed cushion design. There's language in the current policy that indicates that there is a speed cushion design. It uses different terminology because over the years, when that policy was, I believe, drafted in 2009, there was a different term used, and now the more common term is called speed cushion. So, but it is in the current policy.
Thank you. Okay, now we have the bicycle advisory team report and the school safety team report. Ms. Lowry, did you want to? So these are just an information item. Okay, thank you. Item 11, status report of prior traffic commission recommendations. We've all read those. Are there any comments on those? Okay. Where's my number 12? Okay. Number 12, commission referrals from February 18th. There were none. Work program and commission schedule, which is attached. You know what? I don't know how that happened, but mine wasn't attached. I did not get a copy of the work program and commission schedule. Thank you. Okay, so I think we have discussion item number 14, a vote on canceling the June 17th meeting. There's nothing urgent coming up, is that correct? And since we've had this meeting, then we've had our kind of mandatory, well, at least once per quarter meeting. So, commissioners, do you want to discuss or have a motion on canceling the June 17th meeting?
Just out of curiosity, what would be the next big pressing issue that would require some civic engagement that we could prepare for?
Yeah, I don't think there's really nothing pressing at this time, but I'm pretty sure we could probably bring something back when we have our meeting in July, where we'll probably have some type of action item that will require public input.
Okay.
Commissioner Reeder?
We usually don't have meetings in the summer. Are you planning on having a meeting in July?
Generally, the meeting in August is the one that is not held. So we have had meetings in the past during the month of July.
Would the meeting in July be more profitable for us to have than the one in June?
We will make sure that there is a meaningful item on the agenda if we have a meeting. In other words, at this point in time, there's lots of outstanding work that we're working on things, but we don't see in the immediate future a need to bring anything back to the commission in June for sure. And if we don't have anything in July, then it'll be September.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to suspend our meeting in June.
Mrs.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Now we have item number 14, Traffic Commission comments and discussion. Does anybody have anything? Commissioner Reeder?
I want to congratulate Public Works for getting Herbs Road finished. I was over there. It looked nice. Now that it's finished, will there be a traffic study?
We will follow up after probably 4 to 6 months, and actually probably it'll be after the school starts in the fall, and do counts and speed surveys just to see how things are and check those counts. So we always follow up when we finish a project.
Good, because westbound traffic on Hillcrest goes from 2 lanes down to 1. I'm just curious to how long that queue will be during the busiest part of the day.
Definitely bring that back to the commission as a report.
Okay, is there any other commission discussion? Okay, I have something that I wanted to bring since we are a information commission.
Doesn't just that, in fact, that you cannot enter the intersection once the hand starts to flash. Absolutely, when it's steady, but it's a safety issue. It says that once the hand starts to flash, you cannot leave a place of safety, which would be the sidewalk. So it's been that way for years.
And it is a statewide law.
It's
so
the vehicle code, and the vehicle code covers California. Yes.
Okay, so everybody out there who didn't know that either, you could get ticketed if you enter the crosswalk when the hand is flashing. So, thank you.
Right, thank you.
Commissioner?
Sergeant, they used to say don't walk. What happened?
Now you don't have to read. You can just see a sign.
All right, let's see. So, are there any other comments or discussion? Okay, in that case, I will adjourn the meeting to July 15th, 2015 in the boardroom of the Civic Arts Plaza on the 3rd floor. Thank you very much, everybody.